And I had the opportunity to listen to a few of the panelists today. I listened to Ganesh, to Ritesh, and to Tirumala. I understand Manjeet is presenting tomorrow, so I've not listened to his talk. Uh, what I'd like to do is to explore the notion of change, because change is in the air, right? So, what I presume that the focus of this panel is to find career paths in this new world that we live in. So imagine, if you will, that someone went on a vacation, and this could be a person who works at Safeway, it could be a person who works at a travel office, a person, let's say, a school teacher, a mother, a program engineer, a CEO, doesn't matter what. Let's say they went on vacation in June of 2022 and they were shipwrecked. And lo and behold, they have come back now. And suddenly the language that they hear all around them sounds very different, right? It's almost like we are talking an alien language. We are saying, ChatGPT now. Have you used Claude? And the new thing is generative AI. And this person is wondering, what is going on to this in this world? I thought I was well connected. I was functioning quite well. And suddenly I'm hearing all kinds of strange phrases and context being used. What the four of you have done is that you have managed this transition beautifully. And it doesn't come suddenly. It is obviously built on a career that you have evolved. And what would be useful for the audience in this panel, for this panel, is to understand first your trajectories. So I'm going to walk through this notion of change and how you, as being experts in this area, can help others climb the ladder of success. Right? All good? Yeah? Okay. So let me start with, say, Manjeet, could you describe I mean, and this is the process of introduction as well. Could you describe for us yourself in the context of what you do and what you did to get there? And same thing for the others, if you could just go in turn. And this is the context of AI. So how did you become an AI expert that you are today? And what is the trajectory of your journey? Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. Happy to be here. So I will briefly, I think, answer these two-part questions, what I do now and how I get here. So what I do right now is I have two passions. So one is from the work side. I am a senior director of product at Salesforce. As you know, we build CRM apps, and I'm leading the AI platform teams there. So we are building all these, you may have heard this Einstein AI. Recently, we launched our kind of agent story, which is Agent Force. So that's the platform me and my team helped build, where you can build these agents. So coming back like another alien language, what these agents are. So my journey into AI is very organic. I think over the last 20 years, I I think it's a pretty typical in the sense that I finished my undergrad in computer science, worked in the software engineering role for 10 years, did my MBA, then transitioned into product management. I was lucky enough to work with some great companies, and I would say more importantly, great product and great people. So, for example, ServiceNow, where I spent a lot of time in building 0 to 1 products. And I think that's where got the opportunity to, hey, if you're building something new, can we basically take a kind of a blank slate and then rethink some of those workflows, or how can we bring automation from the get-go? How can we apply AI if it makes sense to make those solutions, app, workflow, whatever we call them, more intelligent? So I think that's what kind of my foray into this space 5, 6 years ago. And I inherently became curious because the spaces was moving so fast, and then I built up a habit of I think a continuous learning, and that's really kind of helped me, when I changed the employers or changed the product. Um, I think we are living in this era where, I mean, you mentioned like 2022 to now. I mean, it's such a long time. I mean, these days it's even a month might feel like that hey, you have to catch up a lot. So, but that's the truth, and I enjoy it. And I think this became my passion now. That's the purely kind of the AI powered solution. And the second thing I do is quickly is I'm also passionate about how can I stay healthy and fit. So I think my take is if I stay super healthy for 100 plus years, I can have an outsized impact if AI is on my side. So that's kind of what I'm
I guess
passionate.
the new trend is now take 2 hour vacations. Don't go on 2 month vacations. It's very hazardous to your career. Um,
Exactly.
so, Tirumala, I had a chance to listen to you, how you're changing the university context. But why don't you sketch for us your journey as well?
Sure. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me in the panel. And I see like a lot of amazing people are and experts are there, and that is a good opportunity for me to be part of this panel. Uh, I'm like I start with my introduction and how I ended into my AI. So I'm basically I started my career into Oracle PLSQL programming. Initial 5 years, like I did my Oracle T2K, typical kind of the programming, and then later the ERP started. Like everybody is moving on to the ERP space. Uh, Oracle has its own um, EBS, Oracle e-business solutions. Likewise, like we have PeopleSoft, so I choose PeopleSoft. So I started my, working, learning the PeopleSoft technologies and everything. And from 2003 until now, like I'm stick with the PeopleSoft technology because of the beauty of this technology. And so I had to work on like customers with different domains like BFSI, higher education, transport and logistics, and HR and different things, right? So the PeopleSoft, even in the PeopleSoft, we have like a different offerings from the thing like human capital management, um, FSCM, financial supply chain management, as well as enterprise performance management. I had to work with the different customers in the different regions of the world and things like that. So yeah, so right now like I'm working as a senior programmer analyst for Stony Brook University. This is the first time I'm working with the government public research university. So so what happened, like as you explained, right? So back in 2022, okay, so we know that AI is there, right? So but when I started looking at like what's happening around the ERP space, right? So Oracle, the ERP major players like Oracle, Microsoft, NetSuite, everybody is coming up with their the capability, AI capabilities embedded into the system, right? So then I thought, okay, so I had to learn, right? So it could be a natural progression for me to know what is the AI, right? At the same time, what is AI bringing into the ERP system? That way, I can utilize my skills so that I can best deliver to my customers, right? So my users, right? So that's where the prompt came to me like, okay, I need to start looking into AI. So so that is one thing. So then like I started looking at, we have like nowadays like we have everything put it on the internet, right? So the videos are there and the LinkedIn videos are there about AI basic, and I have to go through some documentations on AI. So it is kind of my learning curve started into AI, and now I am in a situation like I'm going to specific to my industry. Like my industry is higher end, so I am trying to do more research into what is that AI offering to higher ed. That's what like in the today in the previous session, I tried to explore my thoughts into the what is the AI bringing into the higher education. So that is where I am right now, and I am very happy to learn this AI technologies because it is like the changing the way we work day to day, as Mr. Manjeet said, right? So like not years, like every month, like something like day for yesterday, I saw that like OpenAI came up with some video tool, and people are creating video tools. Like I was thinking, like so what is this happening, right? We need to we need to be updated with the AI technologies, though, like so because so when it consider, right, I consider myself uh, 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 as a end user of the AI, right? Because I will be implementing, like I'm not, kind of, doing this AI like we have a data engineer, AI researchers. I'm not into that kind, but I will be knowing AI, what is AI, how I can use it to, improve my customer satisfaction, right? So be in the the frontliner of my career, right? So that's where my take.
Great. So the 12 days of Christmas is certainly looking very different because some new gifts are coming and Santa Claus is coming out with certain other things. Of course, we don't know whether these are all good gifts or not, but they are coming nevertheless. Let's go to Ganesh. Ganesh, when I heard your presentation, I wanted to be your digital twin. So it was so good. Uh, can you tell us how you went into this fascinating space? A very interesting trajectory, but I think it illustrates the ways in which AI can lead us to different kinds of human experiences.
Oh, no, definitely, Mr. Jagannathan. Again, it's a true pleasure being
Call me
here.
Shri. Just call me Shri. Yeah.
Shri, okay. You go with Shri, okay. Uh, good evening. How are you guys doing? The Christmas spirit is there. I'm sure it's going to be very different. I'll briefly reflect on my own personal journey, how I got here. It's an interesting journey because I was never a good programmer until a year ago, and today I can claim I'm a reasonably good programmer, right? So, born and brought up in Hyderabad. 97 is when I came to the Bay Area. You never leave Bay Area once you're in the Bay Area. So, same thing happened to me. And I was figuring it out. So, software engineering is awesome, it's exciting. But I also always believed in every day in the morning when you go in, it has to be exciting for you. It doesn't matter how shiny it is and whatever it is. And interestingly, it took a long time for me to figure out, okay, I can never become a good programmer. To me, I've seen a lot of awesome programmers. I was never close to them. And also, I'm a very big believer of working very hard. Right? Working very hard and working without stress is totally different. Two different things which I socialize with people around me because I want them to enjoy the journey. Right? There's no choice. We all have to work hard, but we shouldn't be stressed out. Oh my God, the world is going to fall apart. So philosophically, I believe that. I practice that, and then I try to socialize that too. And now, a few things to brag about. I'm an average guy, but still. I figured out closing the door and then studying hard continuously, you can win it. So I'm a gold medalist, master's in electronics from India. But when I look back, Jesus Christ, I missed all the fun part. What did I do? I was just studying. Right? So there's an experience there as well, which I carry with me when I interact. I interact with a lot of college students and even high schoolers too, trying to share my experiences. I carry that with me. But coming back to programming, coming back to my own career, at some point I figured out, you know what, I think I have a skill. And the skill is being able to look into the future, being able to orchestrate massive strategies and then execute on it. And it's I am who I am primarily because of the people I have been surrounded by all the way from when I was actually growing up. That's a very strong belief, and I'm very fortunate. I'm very blessed, and I'm very lucky too. So, as I graduated into Zynga, things changed. So I started to lead. I had the opportunity to exercise my curiosity, right? You can be curious, but depending upon what you do, you're actually bound by a lot of things. You can do only so much. So I had a fantastic team around me. This is 15 years ago. World's largest data platform, no AI in those days. ingesting terabytes of data, being able to actually surface insights. And a very interesting problem. Games are short-lived, 3, 4, 6 months. You just can't say, I'll have a very traditional software-driven development. Man, they just roll the release. If the dollars drop, they just roll back. But how can they decide? How do they even know if the dollars are dropping or something bad is happening? And that's where analytics came into play. And a company like that, terabytes of data, all the technologies were falling apart. And that's when Splunk today, I mean, it's acquired by Cisco, but as Splunk, when it was a startup and it was growing up, it was a blessing to really get them while they were at Zynga, being able to work with them to make it work for Zynga. And then eventually, it's a very good feeling to see the company, the way how it actually grew. And then to Kaiser and Verizon changed my life. 9+ years at Verizon. I was brought in to build revenue generating data products. Then it did not have a meaning. So I had to figure out what it means and what I have to do. But it was a very exciting role. And having a style where you fast forward 3 to 5 years and then start to orchestrate a strategy and execute the strategy helped me a lot. In a nutshell, when we were all talking about data, I was talking petabytes of data. And then we were talking about AI, 300K inferences per second. That's a life that I led at Zynga. Was very fortunate to have a wonderful team and all the support that I was able to get to be able to build an organization which drove 100 million in revenue. So I'm a big believer when you really are in a business setting, technology is great. All these experiments are great. But what is the value that you can actually bring to the community, bring to the business, and then so on? That's the mindset. That's how I think. And I always aspired to build my own startup for over 10 years. Fiducia did not magically, it was never born accidentally. It was very well thought out. I was priming my skills to start Fiducia, but 3 years ago, we started Fiducia. Startup being startup, 2-3 pivots, right? First pivot is, okay, you're very emotionally driven now. I said, okay, I want to do traceability on blockchain as a technologist. Oh, then 6 months later, you figure out, oh my God, everything is new and you have to wait 6 more years to really see something. And then you do a pivot, And where we are standing today right now at Fiducia, it's such an amazing, fascinating journey. And every day is exciting to the degree where as early as this morning, it's official that Fiducia has partnership with IBM, trying to actually get this product joint co-marketing. Thanks so much. Co-marketing out there. What is that we want to do? We want to define next generation fan experience. We want to define next generation fan experience primarily using, one, the foundational, if 5G is not there, there's no phone. Phone doesn't work. And all these experience and conversations doesn't mean anything. Second, world is changing where the younger generation, I think more about the younger generation. My time is almost done. What can I do so that I can impact the younger generation? That's how I think. I don't know why. That's how I think. So their behaviors are different. So they're on the phone all the time. Even if they have to watch a movie, they watch it on the phone. They never watch on the big screen, at least in my house. Right? Some small sample size. I have 2, college and a high schooler who's actually applying for college. Right? Everybody in the world, they listen to me, and then my kids, they don't even actually turn back. Right? And their behaviors are different. They're on the phone, they slide. Opportunities are great. We grew up clicking, we click, we look, now it's conversation, search. You ask, you tell, and you get that information. Right? Immersive is becoming big. And we just embarked on a journey. It's been a few months, we're doing very, very well. We're trying to define that next generation fan engagement. What does it mean? Visual is important. What we see is so super important. And if you use the third eye, that is the camera, AI-powered camera, take a picture and then start to have the right context. What does it mean? F1 racing, the car is there, millions of dollars by the brands onto that, and the athlete, he has his own profile. As fans, we're sitting there, we have just very little information about what's going on. Use this AI camera and then be able to actually get contextual information, then have more conversation to your taste, and then move forward. That's our journey right now.
I think I heard you say the third eye is the camera. Is that right?
AI camera, AI powered camera.
The
By the
Shiva,
way, I coined that right now while I was. You guys made me think so.
watch out for patent violation. Lord Shiva might come after you.
See, it's okay to become famous that way.
Okay. Ritesh, I found your presentation fascinating. The wealth of experience and wisdom you have put into that slide set was amazing to me. And you have traversed that entire space, and now you're into only later. You went down the slide deck, I realized you're now into hardware, right? But looks like you were a software person, and this is the beauty of, I guess, the beast, in a sense that these worlds are now coming together. What you can do is very much defined by the assets that you have,
Yep.
and I loved your agentic presentation and the perspectives there. So give us a sense for your journey as well.
Sure, absolutely. I'll try to stay brief in the interest of time, but similar to most of you, I mean, grew up in India and came here probably 20 years ago. Didn't landed in Bay Area, though landed in New Jersey. And once you are in New Jersey, you never want to leave Jersey. Again, there is a pull, both side. But similar trajectory to some of you, like the software engineering, and then for last decade or so, I wanted to say that I born with AI skills, but no, that's not true. Probably there are few people on LinkedIn may say they born with an AI skills, but my AI journey, I would say, started off with the data. When I ran Bloomberg's data platform, and then we converted into a machine learning platform, similar to what describing about Jinga. I mean, we don't disclose at Bloomberg how much petabytes of data we have. Probably, I'm saying way, way larger than Jinga, to be honest. But overall, I had a privilege to run that entire show for about 5 years before AWS called me to run their now household names in machine learning and AI, like SageMaker and Bedrock. So for about 3.5 years, I ran the SageMaker, which is the AWS's machine learning platform. And then I launched Bedrock, which is the flagship generative AI platform, what AWS has. And then about close to a year ago, Cerebras system, that's where the hardware comes in picture, kind of gave me a call that, hey, you have been doing so many things. I mean, there are a few accolades on my name. I'll take credit for Bloomberg GPT, Falcon, and few others, but that's okay. And then the call came about Cerebras. And then when I reviewed Cerebras, what they're doing, I was amazed. I mean, the way I was in the training and inference business, and then the way they were doing training, and now we just launched yesterday a 1 trillion parameter model training on a single chip. That is unheard of from a hardware software footprint point of view in an LLM space. But coming back to the overall Cerebras offering, the inference, I think in hopefully in next few months, nobody can beat us. We are at 20 times faster than whatever is the second best is, and probably 70 times faster than my previous company or any of the other cloud scale providers. So 2000 tokens per second is kind of a tagline we've been playing with for last few weeks, if you are using Llama or some of the similar models. But that's on the journey of how I landed where I am today. But at the same time, like Manjeet was saying, I mean, there are two aspects of your life, right? So day job is one thing where you are building, running show, doesn't matter. But also, maybe it was last year, I mean, I had privilege to visit about 18 different countries in the last 24 months, thanks to Amazon. But somebody said, Ritesh, you know so much, why don't you share? I was like, I'm sharing on the stage. No. Educate people, teach people. And then that kind of light bulb moment, and I started AI Guru Academy. And again, at the same time, recently I launched the same thing in India, where underprivileged people can learn about AI. I mean, on the day job, I'm doing this, and the nights and weekend, I'm recording videos so that I can feed to the people, teach to the people of what these things are, what LLM is, those who were living under the rock since June of 2022, what stable diffusion is, what LLM chat GPTs and Claudes are. So that is my other side of Ritesh. If I tell about what I've been doing and then where I'm contributing to the overall community. But yes, trying to stay ahead, trying to catch up. Even whatever the 12 days of Christmas, probably I've only seen 2 days of Christmas. Probably still 10 more days to go. and then more things will line up in the side of not only OpenAI, but there is also many other companies, right? It's not just, yes, world knows OpenAI making changes, but in the NeurIPS, there is a conference going on right now on the machine learning side, and there are so much advancement happening in the NeurIPS right now, which will sort of take us to, that's a research conference, and then whatever is happening in the research is actually going into the field in 3 months. It used to take years and years. I mean, GPT-3 was in 2020 of June. We saw November 2022, GPT 3.5 came. So it took 2.5 years to get from 3 to 3.5. From 3.5 to 4.0 was about 3 months. From 4.0 to 0.1 was about a year. So the cycle is shrinking, and then probably what we might be anticipating in 10 years, we might see it in 3 years. Who knows, right? So
Especially with the
open to stay open. I mean, the advice is stay open, keep learning. Change is always constant, right?
and with the Cerebras chip, it might be even faster, right? So
That's what our hope is. Yes.
what I see amongst the four of you is, you're curious, you're enthusiastic, you're hardworking, and I would say generous. So these are important, right? Because and the last one is particularly important. We stand on the shoulders of other giants, right? We are in ourselves tiny, but by standing on other people's work, we are able to become much bigger, better, and therefore advance the world a little bit. And all of you are doing that. So that's wonderful. We're going to explore the change in the following sense. So many things have changed, and at the same time many things have stayed the same, and it's like climate change. You say, oh yeah, it's this summer is a bit hotter, and how about 2018? Yeah, it all seems incremental until suddenly the tornadoes start to come and the hurricanes happen, and you're saying, wait a minute, that was a sudden change. Not really, right? It was incremental. But describe for me, and any of you can speak at any time, what is happening to the layers of technology which go to build this new AI, Gen AI, the entire world of possibilities. Take, for instance, the data layer. The data layer has been, with us a long time, but suddenly it seems to be the gold mine into which you really have to understand what you're doing, how you're doing it, how you're distributing it, how you're tagging it, and so on. Unstructured data was very nice for CRM. We can do customer chat, this, that. Suddenly it becomes, oh my gosh, we're going to tie this to ERP software, we drag it, fine tune it, what have you. Similarly, the middle layer and the amount of investments that's going on, whole new host of integrative technologies, tools, services, etc., have been happening. In the upper layers, we got huge number of applications. In some ways, it seems to be the human computer interface has completely changed. For a long time we were just typing in and we were getting something out, or we would look at a screen and we were trained on some screens or the other, and we look for a report, you sent a query, but suddenly you're talking and the world is responding back to you in real time, in contextually. Not all of it accurate, right? Huge holes, some hallucinations, but suddenly the human computer interface is very different now, right? Can you speak to, as you see it, extract the most important aspects of change with relevance to careers?
Right. Yeah, so maybe, Sri, I can speak to maybe two layers because those are the most relevant to what I have been doing and what I'm seeing from, let's say, enterprise B2B SaaS standpoint, where we have 100,000 plus customers. So I think the layer one is the obvious one, data. So you are absolutely right. We are seeing a lot more gravity towards data now. More importantly, how do we unify and harmonize and then connect different these siloed data sources into a single potentially place where these AI models, these agents, or your API call can go and find ground truth or answer based on the real, let's say, the enterprise knowledge, rather than making up and hallucinating the users, right? So I think that's so. What's happening there is, see, the data and AI always has been kind of the important part, even predictive kind of the model world, but I think now this marriage of both structured and unstructured data is what I think is really unlocking a lot more use cases. The obvious ones are, hey, I want to summarize these 100-page email, or I have these 1,000 conversations. To your point, you went on to vacation, came back, and you have 5,000 Slack messages. You can now quickly catch up using the summary. That's a super, super useful feature, right? And everybody, and then so I think one is, it's a data layer. So one way I see is there's so much excitement around these LLM models and then others. My prediction is in 2025, it will be a lot more AI coming to data from the gravity standpoint. It is happening. It's still in siloed. Everybody's building these starting kind of FAQ bot or just kind of the RAG applications, and we are just scratching the surface. And if you look at some of the use cases, kind of Ganesh was talking about the highly personalized and getting all those signals. And then, so I think just to round out my first point, what will happen is there will be a lot more investment into kind of database space, and then how we can make it better, faster, and connect. And it's a race. Everybody's trying to do it. Snowflakes wants to have data gravity on their side. We want into our side as a CRM players, and Microsoft want to their side. So I think there's a conflicting platform. So I feel empathy for the buyer side. Like if I'm a CIO, I'm like, what the heck? Should I buy from Microsoft, Salesforce, or data or agent or whatever layers you talk about, right? The second, I think the layer I'll touch on is not the infrastructure or the models, but this one narrative you might hear is, hey, this traditional SaaS is dead. Or these workflows, everybody, whether it's the ERP workflow or CRM workflow, it is dead, and there's a lot of startup chatter going on. And then, so I think that's not true. I mean, we are talking about change here. Enterprise customers used to take multiple years. Now they will be faster, let's say 2x faster, 3x faster. Still, we are talking about, change taking about a year, for example. And that's a good enough time for even big companies to build out things. If anybody can build a demo, if a startup can build a demo, a POC in, let's say 3 months, why can't a big company build it in 4 months? And just kind of, of course, you put the bureaucracy and layer, and then, so the point I'm trying to bring across is specifically the GenAI has kind of leveled the field quite a lot. Behind the scene, everybody's calling the same models, kind of, for the large part. You may be fine tuning a little bit in here, knowledge and all that, but I think that's specific, narrow use case, domain specific use. But for the last part, I think. So now coming back to like, hey, what's that future of let's say the engagement layer, or how people will be so far in 2024, conversational interface has been winning. And because ChatGPT became more of a consumer product, and also a lot of us use an enterprise. Another thing I'm seeing is specifically this agentic layer. Let's make it headless. So which means, hey, I have this workflow, let's say the sales and SDR and A's and how that team works. Okay, let's build out those kind of invocable agents behind the scene, and then they will take the action on your behalf. So which means, one is the embedding this new AI layer into how people are working. So I think that's one track how I foresee it will happen. The second is completely reimagining, like, hey, do we even have to have a CRM system of record? Can these agents, as soon as the data is generated, can they start to kind of of course, the couple of problems needs to be solved. We need to have the memory there, and we need to kind of have in there. We need to figure it out. What's the right balance? But I think the large part is I think the set of the innovation track is these ERP and CRM system don't have to be such an heavy, and then what's that kind of the alternate solution look like? We have to see. There's some interesting work is going on. Some are exciting, some is like, you're just putting a wrapper on the top. It's not kind of, still, system of record is the thing. So I think that's kind of my thought in 2 areas, but I'll pass it on to anybody else who want to speak at the infrastructure layer or model layer, or any of where you see you are most excited about, or see where the money is to be made, right?
Yeah, just a
Yeah,
quick thought on
go ahead, Sri. Yeah.
uh, uh, ownership of the data. Today, he who has the application has the data.
Right.
And yes, you can get to it, but have to pass through hurdles, let us say. And the notion of application-free CRM data, it's very interesting. But I don't know. I think there'll be a lot of business guys who are saying, "Wait a minute, what is the guys talking about? How do we get the money?"
Yeah.
In any case, please continue. Other people, what has changed in your mind significantly?
I think Manjeet said it, but I'll just echo it. The accessibility, right? That has changed. The amount of people, I think the last survey was 63% people knows what ChatGPT is. I guess that number is wrong. Probably it's in high 90s. Probably only few people who are living under the rocks doesn't know what ChatGPT is or have not used in their life. In my work, the second work, I come across so many people. The moment I talk about something about AI, the default word comes out of their mouth. Doesn't matter which village of India they live in. Uh, oh, ChatGPT. Yeah, I know about it. Okay, so we don't need to set that base, right? So from a consumer point of view, that has already started. It's like iPhone, right? Okay, everyone knows about iPhone. And it's been 15 years since the launch, but at least in 2 years, ChatGPT has tracked that. So there is that momentum from a consumer point of view, and similar to what iPhone did to the phone and the app ecosystem, consumer to the prosumer to the enterprise, which we see that trend now, where it's literally the phone is driving most of the work, as Ganesh you were talking about earlier. That screen is where everyone is talking about. So similarly, the data, what we are going to flow into that from consumer to the prosumer to the enterprise is where this is all falling into a similar pattern, but not a 15-year, probably in a 5-year or even shorter cycle is where I see this going from a trend point of view and an adoption point of view as well. And hopefully that's where the data comes in picture, because without the data, I mean, I still remember the Bloomberg GPT days where it was still early days, but Bloomberg was probably bold enough to use some of their financial data to make differential product, saying that, okay, this is going to make it different than whatever the standard models are, because we want that model to be performed better in a financial task, because that's where our bread and butter is, or whatever they call it. It's no longer a bread and butter for Bloomberg. It's like a $15 billion company with a 70% margin. But anyway, I'll pause here and I'll let others talk about it.
Tirumala, Ganesh.
Tirumala, go ahead, please, and then I'll go at that.
Tirumala, you're muted. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, so I just want to add something like what is the change I could see that, right? So when I started, right? So we have a Oracle database, and so if I want to write any query to retrieve some data, let's say how many people are working in this particular department, right? And say what is the maximum salary, right? So we need to write an SQL statement, and and we need to execute it, and then the syntax should be correct, right? So behind the scenes, like we will get it, right? So we will get the results in a manner that we can read it. So what happened these days, right? So Oracle come up with uh, features like you can use a chart, just a chart, right? So I was yesterday, like I was attending one seminar of Oracle, like in the new releases, right? They're coming with. So say, who is the highest salary in administration department? You just type it, right? So behind the scene, the SQL will be prepared and the data will be pulled and it will show you, right? See how much the advancement is happening, right? So it is like as we people are talking about, right? Earlier we are clicking, this one, now we are sliding, right? So it is like just a matter of like who knows, like tomorrow you say it and it will convert, right? So they may come up with, right? So that kind of advancement is happening. And even like just going to the little to the ERP systems, right? So uh, the traditionally like before like 2020, even 2000, yeah, those days. So we need to, if I want to go to particular page to see the address of the thing, like what is the salary, I need to navigate it, right? So nowadays, there is so many features brought in by, right, so that like you will be given a place where you can type in, so that like you put the employee ID or whatever the name, all the information is flowing on your screen with this, like, so it is matter of like you need to click like what exactly you want to pick it, right? So these are all the advancements are happening, when it comes to the technology side of where I have observed it. And I see that like the another thing from the, I was reading one report, right, the survey report. So compared to 2023, 2024, there is like 2.3 times, like 2.5 times, like the AI adoption rate is increasing in the higher ed itself. So usually like higher ed, like they're like little slow compared to the catching up the technology, right? But but you see like even like they want to do, everybody, administration, everybody wants to utilize the AI technology so that like they can give the better services to the students, and overheads, cost efficiently, things like that. So I see that advancement things are happening.
Ganesh, any thoughts?
No, actually, there are multiple awesome, great views. And I'll try to bring in a different dimension here. So I'll start by saying, okay, now time is shrinking. We are able to shrink time just because of the improvement in efficiencies. It's a pretty powerful statement when you actually go back and then look at a task that used to take a day. Now it might take 15 minutes or 20 minutes, right? And what I'm saying is true. So I used to have a very large team. When I go back and think, I need only 10% of the team to really execute everything that I did before. And this is true. This is no exaggeration. Only because I have actually experienced a lot of these agents from different dimensions. Now, we can discuss all the way from silicon to data layer and then so on. But there is a pretty powerful shift that is happening. Everything will be personalized. Everything will be personalized, including medicine at some point in time, right? Everything is personal. So say, for example, today we are searching for something. We have to go look far. But when you say, oh, I like a green shoe and my foot sizes, I like some brands X, Y, Z, suddenly you see like 4 or 5 things. And I'll take a totally different personal experience. This is, I'm traveling all the way from Tirumala to Coimbatore. And I knew I wanted to go 5, 6, 7 different temples. I wanted to visit temples. I was just blown away. I did the route planning with somebody who could actually take me all the way through. And then I just went and then said, okay, I want to do all these things. And then I just go see. I could never beat that optimized route planning by the power of AI. And that is without really controlling a lot of the knowledge, right? It's all free-form knowledge. We don't know we're going to the right place or we're just going to a different country. It was really doing it very, very well. So how would I like to summarize this? I don't know why, since maybe I left enterprise, I'm less excited about enterprise. I'm more excited about consumer human behavior and our experiences. And my head goes there. So efficiencies will increase. Access, sorry, I missed who said this, but access to a lot of these capabilities is just happening as we speak. The divide would shrink. The divide between access to some of these capabilities across countries. There are a few fundamental things that need to happen. If there is no internet, none of these things that we speak would actually matter. That has to be solved. But it's very interestingly, India has a lot of these formulas. When you see the amount that we spend for wireless here versus when you go back and then, oh my God, so apply those formulas across other countries too, right? So I personally, I feel very confident that access to internet, which is super important, access to computer, right, super important. All these things would actually start to change.
Ganesh, what you're pointing out is, in some sense, the time to the time and therefore the cost to achieve an outcome. I have a thought in my mind. I have a question. I have something I need to do. All that has suddenly shrunk dramatically because my access to, let's say, intelligent information is now dramatically different because the interface is easy. And as Tirumala said, it automatically does all the queries, puts it all together. Maybe it's agentic, and suddenly, I have new ways of interacting with the world. I want to move on to, we have kind of types of change, right? We have looked at technology-driven change for the last few minutes, but I want to bring in two other changes. One is I would call innovation-driven changes. Because the technology is different, because things are possible, now all kinds of new innovations are coming in. People are dreaming at possibilities. The other thing I would say is imagination driven possibilities, right? Where you hypothetically ask, is this possible? Right? You don't even know whether it's possible, but you're by asking that question, it comes into the frame of possibilities. So can you speak to innovation driven and imagination driven? And the only reason I'm bringing this is I would like the audience to understand the nature of change and therefore map themselves into possibilities, right? It's not just about let me become a better ML engineer, right? It is about, hey, the world has changed so dramatically, all kinds of new things are possible.
Yeah.
So can you speak to innovation and imagination driven changes?
I'll just talk briefly. I'll try to be brief too because I don't want to take up all the time. Education, right? Personalization in education is amazing. Precision agriculture to me is just fascinating. We're just chasing. We're going to run out of food. Not the privileged people here in this country, but right. So there's a race that's actually happening right now. Climate change, all these areas, I think we'll see tremendous impact with a lot of the things that is becoming easily accessible. When it comes to imagination, interestingly, it was an imagination, then it became a reservation for me, and it will become a reality for me very soon. So I am a space enthusiast, right? And I really had a reservation with Virgin Galactic. Suddenly they said $500,000, and then suddenly Space Perspective claimed, I have a reservation there. But in this process, we ourselves start to think differently. Now I can fly a plane. I'm still not a licensed private pilot. I'm a student pilot, but I can. You see, you start to think those things, and then and it's not required to be. I wanted to experience that, right? So it elevates each one of us in many ways, because a lot of these things are really possible today. And if it is imagination, I want to have my birthday party in outer space. In 20 years, it would be real. I want to go to India in 30 minutes. In 5 years, that could be real. I'll pass the ball back to others.
Yeah, and I'll add, I think there are 2 points here. So one is it's a little bit of it's like in the if I put my PM hat, is like, hey, are we have a solution and are we looking for problems? That's kind of one way to look at. Or is like, hey, let's look at the problem which are unsolved and then how can we solve them? And those problems could be the real problem. They could be wish lists, just like Ganesh wants to travel to India in 15 minutes. So I think I'll give the B2B perspective a little bit. I think the one what I was mentioning earlier is, for example, we have now Agentforce platform, which can help you build these autonomous agent. And now one is, hey, this is the innovation. Where can we apply? Can we apply it to, let's say, for sales and service and commerce and marketing? I think this is one track will continue, and that's where a lot of enterprise vendors, that's the track they are at. And that's very known. I think that's it's good one. It's, to me, still progressive. Sometimes we just rebrand kind of from the marketing side. Behind the scene, things are not radically different. But nevertheless, I think that's the kind of the how some of these incremental innovation work. The second part is, I think looking into, I think one way I look at what are some of let's say the problem that I have personally, or let's say I have in my team, or I have in my community, and then looking into which domain or segment they falls in. I think healthcare comes to mind. What are some of the things that if you have to reimagine healthcare, and then getting back to personalization. Hey, if I have something wrong in myself, can it detect automatically? Can medicines get ordered, maybe drone picks up, drops in my house, and everything like cut off, right? All the supplies and everything. I think we can reimagine as much as we want, but at the same time, I'm also, it's like, I love to ship products that get used. So it's like, hey, what is the practical? Is it even worth solving? Is it like, even if you have it, what's the trade-off we are making? So I think many times we get excited without thinking about trade-offs. Yeah, no, I think I can keep going, but let's hear from the business.
I'm going to ask,
This is a very good question, by the way.
since we are down to the last 15 minutes, I want to bring it down to, and you can keep using these paradigms when you answer of innovation and imagination, etc. But what technology gives to the left hand, technology takes away the right hand. So as a consequence of these technologies, in the last 2 years, suddenly there is now a huge fear, very visible in the programming world, because ChatGPT can write Python far better than your best Python programmer. And as you said, Ganesh, 80% of your workforce you don't need. And not only does it impact the computer science and whatever related programming world of workforce, it impacts the white collar, right? It impacts everyone, from who answers the phone, who does program management. And Ritesh had a wonderful set of slides on the consequence in an interesting way. But the question is, I want you to look at a technical person who could be disadvantaged. I've been a programmer for 18 years. I know Java, I know C++, I know good in Python, and suddenly people say, those are dated skills now. Automation is it, right? You're not actually needed. And thank you for your service kind of messaging, right? So I need to become better. I need to become AI enabled, so to speak, so that I can continue my journey in this industry. So that is the fear of amongst a lot of people, right? How do I be relevant? Although I have technical skills, these technical skills are becoming obsoleted. It's like when the welding robot came and the welders were no longer particularly useful, right? So that's one. The second is what I think is a problem, which is this kind of efficiency eliminates the white collar force, right? And this is going to impact the financial industry, in terms of analysts. It's going to already, a lot of the work is written by automated bots, right? Maybe a human eye. That's why you see a lot of errors too, but a lot of it is automated. So, but at the same time, I know, as Ritesh, you said, in the villages, they understand ChatGPT. That's an advantage. So if you do, then you can personally advantage yourself and make yourself use technology to ensure that you can ride it. So how would you answer the question of how should a person be relevant given these technologies?
So I use this term very often, and I've still from somebody. I don't know who coined it, but will AI take my job? No. The person who knows AI will have a far better chances of doing that job what you are doing today than yourself. So again, I'm paraphrasing it here, but that is true. It was probably true for over a year now since the advancement of what we have seen, and it will continue to be true for foreseeable future. Like the welders automated many of that work, the engineers are being automated. Does that mean that there is no job as an engineer? No. If you know operating that software, whether it's called it ChatGPT, Claude, Cursor, whatever it is, on how to build that software, there is still 10 people Ganesh is hiring. Yes, it's not 100, but he's still hiring 10. Would you be that one of the 10? And there is far more Ganesh is out there who is hiring in the tens, not in hundreds anymore. That is the reality. But there is much more advancement happening, much more startups are being created. Probably you won't have that luxury of an 18-year job or 20-year job. I spoke to somebody 3 days ago. He's in India. for 24 years, he's in one company. Now he's feeling the pressure that, okay, Ritesh, what should I do? I mean, if you are stuck at the same place for 24 years, and in the cushion of your job security, that is changing, right? So you need to be sort of vigilant. You need to be aware of what's coming. If you are not getting ahead of yourself, if you're not preparing yourself for that upcoming tornado or the storm, what Sri you mentioned earlier, that is already here. And if you need to prepare, you need to prepare well, and not for you, but for your family, for your future. And that's where things are landing. Java, C++, Python, somebody else will write. What about you as an 18 years of experience coming up with that requirement document, which requires the human eye, where Manjeet is creating from his vision board? Convert that vision board into an actual requirement document so that engineer or maybe cursor can create that entire code, and you simply pay an attention of how that cursor created, where it missed, and then where it's not connecting in the right dots, and hand it off to Manjeet, and then Manjeet can do the sales and marketing side of the house as well to wrap it up from a product launch point of view. Right? So that's where things are moving, and then that's where we see that. But that's the harsh reality of any transformation. This is actually a transformation. I'm sure you all know it, but I'm saying for the viewer who's gonna listen in afterwards or listening today, if you don't pay attention to it today, there is a high likelihood in about a year you will not have a job.
So as you go along answering this question, which I think is the fundamental question for the audience, can you also identify one or two areas that you think are high value areas that they should, like prompt engineering or something, that people should say, you should focus on that, if there is?
Yeah, I think first we should not live with fear, right? It's a fantastic opportunity. It all depends upon how we look at it, but there's a foundational thing that's actually happening. It's what are we doing besides enhancing experience? Efficiency. The apple for which we spend $1 could be 25 cents if everything goes well. If you have that mindset, the inequality across the globe can be solved just because of these efficiencies too. That's how I think. When I said I need only 10%, it doesn't mean that all the 90% are gone. The 90% are freed up to scale the business to do other things. And when you go back and then look at your profit margins, exponentially it is starting to grow. It's actually a fascinating effect. But that's when you think the way how I'm thinking. But practically to apply it and implement it, we all have to go through an evolutionary phase, right? So
what do I have to do, Ganesh, to be one of the 10 hired in your company?
So say for example, if I were to talk to someone, I want the person to whom I'm talking to have a co-pilot as a friend mentality. If I don't see that, there is no conversation, and it is applicable across all areas. Today, because when you walk into the seat today, we have a laptop, right? When you walk into the seat very soon, you have a laptop and a co-pilot, and then you're working with him because those templates are already defined, and you have to integrate yourselves into a new working style. The 13-point scrum for a task doesn't exist anymore. It's a 3-point scrum. That's about it. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And you have to do 50. It's a total different change. Once we all start to understand, I'll tell you, it's exciting, it's fearful, it's concerning, but it's relieving when we all look 2 years, 3 years out into the future. And I'll tell you, like Ritesh said, we have to see what we can do now to be included in the journey. Right? What can we do now?
Yeah. Right? Create the future you want to live in.
Yeah.
Good. Closing thoughts as we go along?
Yeah, so maybe I'll just take 30 seconds to just addendum to what Ritesh said. So this idea of like, hey, people who know these tools and technology, they will be at an advantage and they will replace you if you don't learn. So that's one thread. The second thread is, okay, you have to be the growth mindset and don't see this as a fear. Maybe change the narrative to that this is an opportunity. It's for me to improve my productivity, my team's productivity, and everybody else, right? Let me give you my playbook of how to learn, and I'll also answer partly the question is, what is the kind of high value buckets where you can move pretty fast within a few weeks from learning standpoint. So let's take, doesn't matter what your role is. Hey, I'm in the product, or I'm in engineering or sales and marketing. And then I suggest you should play by your strength. What I mean by that is, hey, I know this domain, right? Taking your example, Ritesh, this guy is working for 24 years. He's a subject matter expert. Now he doesn't know this AI stack. So this is easy. First is you need to understand, how do you learn fast? For example, in my case, I learn fast more auditory. I don't learn fast when I'm reading, or so, which means I learn to a lot of podcasts, and that's where I'm synthesizing a lot of information, and then it's blended into when I'm working out or in here, and then so I think it becomes part of that kind of so you have to see how you can become a learning machine, because we all are busy. I mean, I have 2 boys and full-time job, and I have my fitness business. Still, I have to carve out a few hours in a week to learn. And then, so super, super important. So your domain expertise, and then see how you learn. I mean, these days, these tools, what they're enabling is you can learn. I mean, you can chat with ChatGPT and it will teach you whatever you want to learn. And that's opening up, I think, the specifically kind of leveling up the field, and no matter where you're sitting, as long as you have the access. And then, so here's my playbook that I do every week. So as I'm kind of going in there, I have a very curated, sometimes I bookmark thing, and then, hey, this is interesting topic to me. I mean, as of course I'm, I want to transform CRM. So anything that's related to that. So it happens because during the day I'm busy and all that, right? The second is I carve out some time either on Friday and Saturday to really very targeted learning. I follow just only 10 people on Twitter and maybe 10 people on LinkedIn. Cut out all the noise. There's so much crap out there, and you kind of figure like very high quality feed. Read those, synthesize those, and have a little bit of roadmap plan. 3 things I'll tell you. Understand the basics of prompting. This is a kind of logic, right? Hey, how do you ask the question? How you are asking the question? You are prompting me, and then the LLM inside me is responding. Kind of that sort of the mindset. The second thing is you don't have to worry about what model and what not. Is like, hey, where this can be applied. Think of this in automation technology, whatever your role is. Usually, I mean, one list I always have is, hey, what I'm doing in a given week, and I go back and ask, what can I automate from that? I think fantastic one. And then you pick any tool, doesn't matter whatever the tool is, go for the free one. Don't even have to pay $20. Try it out, get your hands dirty, read things again next week, try it out, and what you will be surprised, within 60 days, you will feel more in control and more in charge, and then this fear will go away slowly.
So since we talked a little bit about agentic software, can you, any of you, suggest how a person can improve using agentic software as a way, like you said, I have 10 curated feeds, blah, blah, blah. So, and other people may have other requirements. Do you see something out there which says, here's a set of things I'm to do. I'm trying to become good at, 1, 2, 3, or I'm trying to, learn this, that, and the other. Is there something which allows me to have a personalized agent, which is kind of my twin, acts as my twin, thinks like me, I can put it in? Do you see something like that which can work for me?
I think the easiest one is custom GPT. For example, I have built 2 for my product role. One really helped me write kind of PRDs and contents and requirement. And then I think I would say start there, even forget about the kind of full-fledged agents. That's good enough for your personalized learning. It becomes your personalized tutor 24/7 with you. So I have a couple of blogs and then video I recorded. Happy to share. I think
Yeah, please do. I think it'll be useful. I think all of you can share the way in which you have ascended this AI pyramid. We are at the bottom of the hour. People who are listening, feel free to type your questions in for this expert panel.